Iris Nickel had a routine, and routines kept her alive. 6:30 p.m. Lock the coffee shop's back door, check it twice. Walk home with keys laced between her knuckles. 6:50. Triple lock her apartment door, check every window, every closet, under the bed. 7 p.m. Breathe. Tonight. Her hands shook as she pulled the blackout curtains closed. Heavy fabric she'd bought 3 weeks ago after he started watching. She could still feel it, that crawling sensation between her shoulder blades, the weight of unseen eyes. The police had been useless. Ma'am, without concrete evidence of a threat, there's not much we can do. She'd shown them the photos, screenshots from anonymous accounts, her walking to work, sitting in the cafe window, entering her building. Timestamp, 11:47 p.m. She'd been asleep. He'd been outside. Could be coincidence, unless he threatens you directly. She'd stopped listening. Now, she moved through her apartment like a ghost haunting her own life. Microwaved soup she barely tasted. TV volume low so she could hear sounds from outside. The window above her kitchen sink had no curtain, 3rd floor, fire escape side. She'd always felt safe there. Not anymore. Iris washed her bowl, hands trembling, and caught her reflection in the darkened glass. Pale face, shadows under her eyes, 28 and hollowed out by fear. A branch scraped the window. She gasped, dropped the bowl. It shattered. Just wind. But she couldn't stop feeling watched. Across the city, Domenico Balestra cut into a ribeye he had no appetite for. "The shipment's clean?" Gio murmured. "No complications." Domenico nodded. Words were wasted when silence worked better. 36 years old, 18 spent building an empire in shadows. He'd inherited his father's ruthlessness and perfected it. Sanded away anything soft until only sharp edges remained. People feared him. That was the point. "Victor's asking about 5th, Gio said carefully. "Wants negotiation." "No. He'll push. Let him." Domenico's voice was quiet, almost gentle. "That's how you knew he was dangerous. Then he'll learn what happens when I push back." Outside, November air bit cold. Domenico waved off his driver. 20 minutes. I'll walk." His route cut through a transitional neighborhood, old buildings being gutted, residents pushed out. He owned 3 buildings here through shell corporations. Cutting through an alley. He heard it. Breathing. Not his own. Domenico stopped, predatory instincts sharpening. They're pressed against brick beside a fire escape. A man. Crouched. Face tilted toward a 3rd floor window. Watching a woman wash dishes, unaware of the predator outside. Something cold settled in Domenico's chest. He knew this tableau. His footsteps made no sound. The stalker didn't notice, didn't hear, didn't sense the monster approaching until Domenico was directly behind him. Domenico leaned in and breathed. Have you ever felt watched, only to be told you were overreacting? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about how fear gets dismissed until it's too late. The stalker froze. Every muscle locked. Domenico could feel it, the prey response. The animal understanding that something apex had found him. The man's breathing stopped, then came back ragged, panicked. "Don't move," Domenico whispered. Not a threat, a promise. The stalker's phone was still raised, camera aimed at the window. Domenico could see the screen over his shoulder zoomed in on the woman's face. Her expression tired and frightened, even in the mundane act of cleaning her kitchen. How many photos were already saved? How long had this been happening? "Please," the man started. "One quiet." Domenico's hand shot out, gripped the back of the stalker's neck. Not hard enough to hurt yet, just enough to communicate ownership. The phone clattered to the metal fire escape. The noise made the woman look up. Iris's heart stopped. There was someone on the fire escape, 2 someones. Dark shapes against the window, backlit by the distant streetlight. She couldn't see faces, but she could see the posture, one cowering, one dominant. One predator, one prey. Terror flooded her system. She stumbled backward, hit the counter. Her mind screamed conflicting commands. Run, hide, call 911, scream. But she couldn't look away. The dominant figure shifted, and for just a moment, ambient light caught his face. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that flicked from the cowering man to her window. Their gazes met through the glass. She expected malice, expected the same hungry entitlement she'd felt radiating from her stalker for weeks. Instead, she saw something that made no sense. Recognition. Not of her specifically, but of the situation, of her fear, and beneath that cold, focused rage that wasn't directed at her at all, the man gave her a single, deliberate nod. Then he dragged her stalker backward into the darkness. Domenico pulled the stalker down the fire escape, one hand locked on his collar, moving with practiced efficiency. The man whimpered, stumbled, caught himself on the railing. "Please, I wasn't going to, I was just—" "You were hunting." Domenico's voice was winter. "I know what hunting looks like." They reached the alley. Domenico slammed the stalker against the brick wall, forearm across his throat. Up close, the man was pathetic. Mid-30s, soft around the middle, receding hairline. The kind of predator who chose victims he thought were weaker. She doesn't even know I love her," the stalker gasped. "That's not love." Domenico's forearm pressed harder. "That's obsession. Control. Terror. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." Domenico leaned in close, let the stalker see exactly what kind of monster he'd stumbled into. "Here's what happens next. You're going to tell me everything. Every photo. Every time you followed her. Every account you created. Then you're going to disappear from her life so completely, she'll wonder if you ever existed." The stalker's eyes went wide. "Or what?" Domenico smiled. "It wasn't kind. Or I'll make sure you disappear completely from every life." Iris stood frozen in her kitchen for 5 full minutes after they disappeared. Her phone was in her hand, 911 typed but not called. What would she even say? 2 men were fighting on my fire escape, but I think one of them saved me. She moved to the window, pressed her face close to the glass. The alley below was empty, dark, like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Someone had stopped him, had seen what was happening and intervened when no one else would. Not the police, not her neighbors, not the building security that didn't exist. A stranger in a $1,000 coat had pulled her stalker into the darkness like an avenging angel. Orda demon. Iris's hands trembled as she backed away from the window. She should feel relieved, grateful, safe. Instead, she felt seen, and not in the violating way her stalker had made her feel. In a way that was somehow more terrifying because it made her feel something. The way those dark eyes had found hers through the glass. The nod, like a promise. "I've got this. I've got you." She didn't even know him. Didn't know what he'd done to her stalker after dragging him away. Didn't know if she'd just traded one threat for another. "Stop it," she whispered to herself. "Stop romanticizing the man what, saved you?" But men like that didn't save people without wanting something in return. Did they? Domenico sat in the back of his car, knuckles bleeding, the stalker's phone in his hand. "Boss?" His driver, Tommy, glanced in the rearview mirror. "Where to?" Good question. The stalker was currently zip-tied in a warehouse across town, being convinced by 2 of Domenico's men to delete every photo, close every account, and leave the city by morning. Standard work. Efficient. So why was Domenico still sitting here, parked half a block from her building, scrolling through a stranger's camera roll? Hundreds of photos. Hundreds. Some dating back months. The woman Iris, he'd learned from the stalker's sobbing confession, had been living in a surveillance state without knowing it. His jaw clenched. This wasn't his problem. He'd handled the immediate threat. Mission accomplished. He should go home, pour a drink, forget this ever happened. Instead, he found himself studying her face in the photos. Even terrified, even exhausted, there was something luminous about her. Delicate features, but steel in her eyes. The kind of woman who'd been broken down but refused to break. He knew the type. His sister had been that type. Before she wasn't anymore. Domenico's thumb hovered over the delete button. He should wipe the phone, destroy it, walk away. This woman wasn't his responsibility. He didn't do rescue missions, didn't play hero. He was a monster who'd just happened to find a worse monster. But then he scrolled to the most recent photo taken tonight, through her kitchen window. Her face pale and frightened, and something in his chest cracked. "Tommy," he said quietly, "find out everything about Iris Nickel, where she works, family, friends, and I want someone watching this building, rotating shifts, professional, invisible. Boss, you sure that's—" Did I stutter? "No, sir." Domenico pocketed the phone. He'd drop it in the river tomorrow. Tonight, he had a woman to protect, even if she didn't know it yet. Even if he didn't understand why he couldn't walk away. Iris found the envelope 3 days later. It was slipped under her apartment door sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. Thick manila paper, unmarked except for her name in precise block letters. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside, a printed note and a phone. He's gone. Left the city. This was his phone. I've deleted everything, but you deserve to know the scope. Passcode 0847. There's a new contact saved under D. If you ever feel unsafe again, use it. Someone who understands. The phone felt heavy in her palm. Wrong. Like holding evidence of her own violation. She shouldn't turn it on. Should take it straight to the police. Instead, she entered the passcode. The camera roll was empty, but the recently deleted folder told the story 548 items removed. 548 photos of her life, stolen and catalogued. Iris ran to the bathroom and vomited. She called the number 2 hours later, hands still shaking from adrenaline and rage and something like relief. He answered on the first ring. Iris. That voice. Quiet. Controlled. The same voice that had whispered, "Don't move in the darkness." "Who are you?" Her voice cracked. "What did you do to him?" Silence. Then, "Nothing permanent. Everything deserved." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now." A pause. "Did you see the phone?" 548 photos. Her throat burned. 548 times I thought I was safe, and I wasn't. "I know." Something shifted in his tone. Almost gentle. "That's why I need you to meet me." "Absolutely not. I don't know you. You could be worse than him?" A dark laugh. "Probably. But I'm not interested in hurting you, Iris. I'm interested in making sure no one else gets the chance." "Why?" The question tore out of her. "Why do you even care?" The silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. "Because I know what it looks like when someone doesn't." His voice went rough, unguarded for just a moment. "And I'm tired of seeing it." The coffee shop he chose was public. Bright. Safe. Iris arrived 15 minutes early, positioned herself with her back to the wall, exit in sight. Classic anxiety behavior. She didn't care. At exactly 2 p.m., the door opened. He was not what she expected. Tall, yes. Intimidating, absolutely. Dark hair, darker eyes, expensive coat. But there was something almost careful in how he moved, like he was trying to take up less space, be less threatening. It didn't work. He commanded the room just by existing. Their eyes met. He crossed to her table, didn't sit. "Iris Nickel." "Stalker savior," she replied. Her heart hammered. "Are you going to tell me your name? Or should I keep making them up?" The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Domenico." He slid into the chair across from her, movements precise. "And before you ask, yes. My father had a sense of humor about names." Was he also in the habit of dragging men off fire escapes? Different methodology, same results. Iris studied him. Up close, he was younger than she'd thought, late 30s maybe, handsome in a severe way, like a blade. But there were shadows under his eyes that matched her own. "What do you want from me, Domenico?" He met her gaze, didn't flinch. "To make sure you're actually safe. Your stalker had friends, online communities. They share information, photographs, targets." His jaw tightened. "I need to know if your exposure goes deeper than one pathetic man with a camera." The room tilted. "There are more?" "Possibly." He leaned forward. "That's what I'm going to find out. But I need your help. Passwords. Accounts. Everywhere you exist online. You're asking me to trust you with my entire digital life." "Yes." "Why would I do that?" Domenico's eyes held hers. "Because 3 nights ago, you looked at me through that window and knew, even terrified, even confused, you knew I wasn't there to hurt you." His voice dropped. "You felt it. Same as I did." Iris's breath caught. He was right. She had known. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. Help me." Something flickered in his expression. Relief? Surprise? "Then we start now." They worked in Domenico's car for 2 hours. Iris's laptop opened between them, his tech specialist, a woman named Luna, on speakerphone, walking them through digital footprints and metadata. "You're clean," Luna finally said. The stalker was solo. No connections to larger networks. Just a garden-variety creep with too much time. Iris exhaled shakily. "So it's over?" "It's over," Domenico confirmed. He nodded to the driver. "Take us around the block once more." When Luna disconnected, silence filled the car. Iris closed her laptop, suddenly aware of how close they were sitting. His cologne, something dark and expensive, filled the small space. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You didn't have to do any of this." "I did." His voice was flat, final. "Why?" Domenico's jaw worked. He stared out the window at the passing city. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" He didn't answer for a long moment. Then, "My sister, Gabriella. She was 23, art student, bright, brilliant, kind." His hands clenched. "She had a stalker too. Professor at her university. Started as compliments, then gifts, then showing up places. She reported it. They said the same things your police said." Iris's heart dropped. "Domenico!" "She called me one night, terrified. Said he'd been outside her apartment. I was in Boston on business. Told her I'd come first thing in the morning, that she should go stay with friends." His voice cracked. "She said she was overreacting, that she'd be fine until I got there." "Oh God." He broke in at 3 a.m. Domenico's eyes were distant, haunted. "She fought. Neighbors heard screaming. Called 911. Police arrived in 8 minutes." Iris reached for his hand without thinking. "Domenico." "She survived the attack. Barely." He finally looked at her, and the raw pain in his eyes made her chest ache. "But she didn't survive what came after. The trial. The victim blaming. Seeing him in court. 6 months later, she walked into the ocean." Tears burned Iris's eyes. "I'm so sorry." "I killed him," said simply. Matter of fact. The stalker. 3 weeks after her funeral. Made it look like an accident." He turned his hand over, laced his fingers through hers. "That's who I am, Iris. That's what I do. I'm not a good man. You're good to me." His eyes searched hers. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying." She squeezed his hand. "You saved me when no one else would. You believed me when no one else did. You," her voice broke, "you saw me. Actually saw me. Not as a victim or an inconvenience, but as someone worth protecting. You are worth protecting." His thumb traced her knuckles, the gesture achingly tender from a man who dealt in violence. "You're worth everything." The air between them shifted, charged. "Domenico." She didn't know what she was asking, only that something was happening, something terrifying and inevitable. "I should take you home." But he didn't move, didn't let go of her hand. "I don't want to go home yet." His eyes darkened. "Iris, if I don't take you home right now, I'm going to do something we can't take back." Her heart raced. What if I don't want to take it back? For a man built on control, his restraint crumbled fast. He kissed her like she was air and he was drowning. Iris pulled back first, breathless, her forehead resting against his. "That was..." She laughed shakily. "Insane. We're insane. Completely." But Domenico was smiling, actually smiling, and it transformed his entire face, made him look younger, less like a weapon, more like a man. "I don't do this," she whispered. "I don't kiss dangerous strangers in the back of cars." "I don't do this either." His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "Any of this. Caring. Protecting someone who isn't family. Feeling. Human." His laugh was rough. "Yeah, human." They stayed like that, wrapped in each other in the back seat while the city moved around them. The driver had discreetly raised the privacy screen. Domenico's hand stayed gentle on her face, like she was something precious. "Tell me something real," Iris said softly. "Not the scary Mafia stuff. Something true." He considered. "I'm afraid of thunderstorms." Her eyebrows shot up. "Really?" "Since I was 6. My father used to lock me outside during storms. Said fear was weakness that needed to be beaten out." His jaw tightened. "Didn't work. Just taught me to hide it better." Iris's heart cracked. She pressed a kiss to his palm. "I'm afraid of the dark now. Never was before, but now." She shrugged. "I sleep with every light on. My electric bill is insane. Stay with me tonight." The words tumbled out before he could stop them. I'm not asking for I have guest rooms. 7 of them. You can pick whichever feels safest. But my penthouse has security, cameras, doormen. You could sleep without fear, just once." She should say no. Should run from this beautiful, broken man who kissed like worship and killed without remorse. "Okay," she whispered instead. His eyes widened. "Okay? I don't want to be afraid tonight. And when I'm with you, I'm not." She smiled sadly. Probably says terrible things about both of us. Probably says we understand each other. He kissed her forehead, achingly tender. I won't let anything hurt you, Iris. Not ever again. What if what hurts me is you? He pulled back, met her eyes. Then you walk away, and I let you go. No matter what it costs me. I'm not him. I'm not any of them. You want to leave, you leave. Always. And if I want to stay? His smile was sad and hopeful, and terrified all at once. Then I'll spend every day trying to deserve it. They stopped for Thai food on the way to his penthouse, her choice. Sat on his marble kitchen counter eating pad Thai from containers, her bare feet swinging, his jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up. This is the weirdest first date ever, Iris said around a mouthful of noodles. Is that what this is? I don't know. What do you call it when a mafia boss rescues you from a stalker and you make out in his car? Tuesday. She laughed, really laughed, and the sound filled his sterile, empty penthouse with something it had never held before. Life. Domenico watched her, memorizing the curve of her smile, the way her eyes crinkled, the sound of joy he'd created instead of destroying. For the first time in 18 years, he felt like something other than a monster. He felt like a man who might deserve this. When was the last time someone made you feel truly safe? Not just protected, but seen and understood? Share your story below. We all need reminders that connection is possible, even in darkness. Iris woke at 2 a.m. to voices. She'd fallen asleep in Domenico's guest room, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, blackout curtains she could close, a lock on the door he'd shown her how to use. Your space, he'd said. Your control. But now, harsh voices pulled her from the first peaceful sleep she'd had in months. She crept to the door, opened it a crack. Domenico stood in his living room, still dressed, phone pressed to his ear. Two men she didn't recognize flanked him, built like walls, faces hard. I don't care what he said. Domenico's voice was arctic. He touched our shipment. He pays the price. Both hands. Make sure Victor gets the message. Iris's blood went cold. Boss, he's got kids. One of the men started. Should have thought of that before he stole from me. Domenico's eyes were empty, void of the warmth she'd seen hours ago. And burn the warehouse. Send the ashes to Victor in a fucking gift basket. This wasn't the man who'd held her face like she was precious, who'd confessed his fear of thunderstorms, who'd kissed her like she was his salvation. This was the monster. She must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, because Domenico's head snapped toward her. Their eyes met. His expression shifted monster to man in a heartbeat. Iris. She stumbled backward. Both hands? You're going to... It's not what you think. You're going to mutilate someone. Her voice cracked. Someone with children. Someone who would have gotten those children killed when Victor retaliated. He moved toward her, hands raised. You don't understand how this world... No, I understand perfectly. Tears burned her eyes. I was so desperate to feel safe that I convinced myself you were different, that the violence was justified, that you were some kind of broken hero. She laughed bitterly. But you're not broken. You're just cruel. Iris, please. Did you have me followed? Before the stalker? Is that how you found me so conveniently? His silence was answer enough. Oh God. The room spun. How long? How long have you been watching me? 3 weeks, he admitted quietly. You walked past one of my buildings. I saw you and... You stalked me. Her voice went shrill. You're no different than him. That's not fair. You had someone watching me, following me, and I'm supposed to believe it was for my own good? She was crying now, backing toward the guest room. I was trading one cage for another, one monster for a different one. Don't, his voice broke. Don't compare me to him. Why not? You both watched me without permission. Both made decisions about my life without asking. The only difference is you're better at pretending to care. She saw the words land like bullets. Saw something shatter in his eyes. If that's what you believe, he said quietly, then I'll have Tommy take you home. I'll get my own ride. Iris, don't follow me. Don't call me. Don't send your men to watch over me. She met his eyes, let him see her devastation. Stay away from me, Domenico. I mean it. He stepped back, nodded once. She called an Uber with shaking hands. He didn't try to stop her. And somehow, that hurt most of all. Domenico stood at his window for 3 days. Didn't sleep. Barely ate. Just watched the city and replayed her words on an endless loop. You're no different than him. Gio found him there on the third morning. Boss, the Victor situation. Handle it. You always handle Victor personally. Not anymore. Domenico's voice was hollow. I'm tired, Gio. Tired of breaking people. Tired of being the monster everyone expects. This about the girl? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. She was right, you know, Gio said carefully. You did have her followed before the stalker. Tommy told me. 3 weeks of surveillance before you accidentally found him. I know. So you were watching her, just like he was. Domenico's jaw clenched. Not like him. Never like him. I wasn't cataloging her, fantasizing, planning. I was. He stopped, forced himself to say it. I was trying to figure out how to talk to her, like a normal person. Saw her at the coffee shop, thought she was beautiful, and instead of just asking her out like a human being, I defaulted to what I know: control, surveillance, information. Because that's safer than risking rejection. Because I'm too broken to do it right. He turned from the window. She deserves better than a man who watches from the shadows because he's forgotten how to step into the light. Gio studied him. So what are you going to do? Nothing. She told me to stay away. For once in my life, I'm going to respect what a woman actually wants, instead of deciding I know better. Even if it destroys you? Domenico smiled sadly. Especially then. Iris lasted 4 days. 4 days of jumping at shadows, sleeping with lights on, checking over her shoulder. 4 days of her apartment feeling empty instead of safe. 4 days of missing a monster who'd made her feel human. You're an idiot, her best friend Sarah said over coffee. He saved you. He also had me followed. Before he knew about the stalker, and when he found out, he eliminated the threat. Sarah leaned forward. Iris, I've watched you shrink for months, watched you disappear into fear. Then you spend one night with this man and you came back. You were alive again. He mutilates people, Sarah. He lives in a world we don't understand, with rules we don't know. She grabbed Iris's hand. I'm not saying marry him tomorrow. I'm saying maybe don't throw away the first person who made you feel safe just because he's not safe himself. Iris stared at her coffee. What if he hurts me? What if you're already hurt by losing him? That night, Iris pulled out the phone. The one Domenico had given her. His number still saved under D. She typed and deleted 5 messages before settling on. I'm not saying I forgive you, but I'm saying I want to understand. Coffee tomorrow? I choose the place. She hit send before she could overthink it. The response came in 30 seconds. Anywhere. Anytime. I'll spend the rest of my life earning back what I lost. Iris's hands shook as she typed. Don't make promises you can't keep. Then I'll start with one I can. I'll tell you the whole truth. No matter what it costs me. You deserve that much. She closed her eyes. Exhaled. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Same coffee shop. I'll be there. Iris set the phone down, heart racing. She was either about to make the best decision of her life, or the worst. But for the first time since her stalker appeared, she was choosing. Not reacting, not hiding. Choosing. And that had to mean something. Domenico arrived 15 minutes early, positioned himself where she could see him from the door. When Iris walked in, their eyes met, and the world narrowed to just this 2 broken people deciding if they could build something from the pieces. She sat across from him, didn't smile. Talk. I had you followed, he started, because 3 weeks ago, you smiled at a homeless man outside your coffee shop, gave him your breakfast sandwich. And when he said, God bless you, you said, we could all use the blessing. His voice roughened. I've lived in darkness so long I forgot people like you existed. So I did what I know I watched. Learned your routine. Told myself I was working up the courage to introduce myself properly. That's not normal, Domenico. I know. I've never been normal. He leaned forward. The stalker was real. Finding him was coincidence. But stopping him? His eyes held hers. That was the first good thing I'd done in years. And when you looked at me through that window, terrified but trusting, I felt human for the first time since Gabriella died. Iris's throat tightened. I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm not asking you to accept my world. His hand slid across the table, palm up. An offering. I'm asking if you'll let me exist in yours. The real world. Where people smile at strangers and believe in blessings. Where I can be more than what I was raised to be. What about Victor? The violence? I'm stepping back. Gio's taking over operations. I'm transitioning. It won't be overnight, and it won't be clean, but I'm trying. His voice cracked. You made me want to try. Iris stared at his hand. This man who'd saved her, watched her, broken her heart, and somehow still made her feel safer than anyone ever had. If I do this, if I choose this, you don't get to make decisions for me. Not where I go, who I see, how I live. Never. And you talk to me. The truth, even when it's ugly. Especially then. And Domenico? She finally took his hand, felt his fingers close around hers like a vow. You let me save you too. Not just the other way around. His breath shuddered out. I don't know if I'm worth saving. Let me decide that. She squeezed his hand. I'm choosing you. Flaws, darkness, terrible surveillance skills and all. But you have to choose the man you want to become. I choose better. He brought her hand to his lips. I choose light. I choose you. She stood, and he tensed, afraid she was leaving. Instead, she moved to his side of the booth, slid in next to him, let him wrap his arms around her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. We're going to mess this up, she whispered against his chest. Probably. We're going to hurt each other. Definitely. But we're going to try anyway? He pulled back, cupped her face the way he had that first night. Looked at her with those dark eyes that had seen too much but were learning to see beauty again. For you, I'll try everything. When he kissed her this time, it wasn't desperate or hungry. It was a promise. A beginning. Outside the coffee shop window, the city moved on, oblivious to the monster learning to be a man, and the woman teaching him how. 3 months later, Iris woke in Domenico's bed, their bed now, to find him watching her in the early morning light. Creepy, she murmured, smiling. Can't help it. You're beautiful when you're not afraid. He tucked hair behind her ear. Are you afraid? She considered. The nightmares had faded. The constant vigilance had eased. Her stalker was gone, truly gone, and Domenico had kept his promise. No more shadows, no more surveillance. Just a man learning to love properly, and a woman learning to trust again. Not anymore, she whispered. Not with you. His smile was sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Good, he breathed against her lips. Because I'm planning to keep you forever. Possessive much? Reformed stalker, remember? I come with baggage. She laughed, pulled him closer. Lucky for you, I've got baggage too. We'll unpack it together. And in that moment, wrapped in each other, safe and chosen and healing, they both finally understood what it meant to be seen. Not as victim or monster, but as human, as enough, as home. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and be part of a community that cherishes unforgettable tales like this one. Your support means more than you know. It fuels the creation of even more stories that speak to the heart. So, whether you're watching from your TV or your phone, take a moment to join us. Every like, every subscription, every share helps us continue bringing these stories to life. Thank you for being a part of this journey.